Well, peace, world. It's Patrick Mo Freeman, angry black man in therapy, representing We Act Radio. Normally broadcast on the radical side of Monarchy Avenue, but just like millions of people around the country, I'm working from home because things have changed. The entire economic structure of our country has changed. Downtowns are just a mere shadow of what they used to be, and we have new territory to build and explore. All right, and we're here to talk about the beginning of spring. Most people celebrate the spring solstice on March 21st, but here in Washington, D.C., in the nation's capital, it's not spring until the Anacostia River Festival kicks off. And this Sunday, April the 10th, will be just that. This is brought to you by Bridging DC, DC's first elevated public park that will be perched over the Anacostia River, long held as a barrier between the haves and have-nots in the nation's capital. And it's located on the piers of the old 11th Street Bridge. And this venue will be a space for healthy recreation, environmental education, and the arts. And their signature event is the Anacostia River Festival. So the 11th Street Bridge Park, in conjunction with the National Park Service, presents the 8th annual Anacostia River Festival, a premier event and the official closing of the 2022 National Cherry Blossom Festival. And so we're inviting everyone to join us as we celebrate Anacostia Park through live music and the coming of spring. And here to join us today is a good friend, Vaughn Perry from 11th Street Bridge Park. He's the Equity Development Director of 11th Street Bridge Park. Vaughn, welcome back to We Act Radio, and let's get right into it.
You know, you talked earlier like about economics and the impact that, you know, where there's this shift. And if we, you know, really want to start to talk about like some of the barriers that have been put in place, especially for the Ward 8 community, there's this highway, right, that runs through it that disconnects Anacostia in a lot of ways from this beautiful natural park, right? And so you got this underpass that seems really gloomy and morbid, and a lot of people didn't really want to come under it. So even we even activated that space. We worked with a curator. Gosh, I can't remember Bruce's last name now. Anyway, long time photographer who had been taking amazing pictures, and we posted their pictures up under the underpass, really to kind of just lighten up that space, and to invite people into not only the Anacostia Park, but what will soon also be the Anacostia, the 11th Street Bridge Park.
Now, Bruce, and I'm sorry, I'm joining you in our junior senior moment. Was a great local photographer, passed away recently, and we want to acknowledge his work, and I'm glad that some of his work has been part of this project. Now, the Anacostia River Festival, this is the 8th annual event that's taking place on April the 10th. It's from 1 to 5 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. 1 to 4 p.m. Come on, I'm sorry, 1 to 4 p.m. this Sunday.
1 to 4 p.m. this Sunday. Now, what is it that people can expect in terms of activities and things that's going on that makes the Anacostia River Festival unique and different from most festivals that people are accustomed to?
I mean, so really the whole idea of the Anacostia River Festival was about celebrating the park, celebrating the community, celebrating the residents. The festival comes out of our 11th Street Bridge Park Equitable Development Plan, cultural and equity strategies. And basically what I mean by that is oftentimes when development is coming into the place, we talk a lot about physical gentrification, but not cultural gentrification. And what that means is oftentimes the history, the traditions, the stories of those communities are getting displaced. And so we really wanted to look at ways with how we can both document and give community residents a way to express their culture. And so the River Festival really is a culmination of that. It gives an opportunity for local residents, local performer, local artists to perform. And so this is our first year back in the last 3 years, actually in person because of the pandemic. We've been doing it virtually, but this year we are celebrating and partnering with Don't Mute DC, and so we have a number of go-go bands that are really going to be the focus around the festival this year. And so we have an amazing lineup. We have folks like the Experience Band. There's going to be an awesome word to go contest where participants were encouraged to write a poem to go. And we have some finalists, and the person is actually going to we're going to find out who won on stage, and they're going to be presented with a check. We have bands like T.O.B., Black Alley, Sirius and Company are going to be performing. We're also going to have the renowned Eastern High School Marching Band. And so there'll be a lot of music, but we'll also, it's a very family-friendly event. We'll have some activities for the kids. And we have really been cognizant of making sure that people are safe in this new COVID space. And so, we have less hands-on things and more things that are spaced out. But what I do want to mention is we also are encouraging people, if you haven't been vaccinated, we will also have COVID vaccinations down at the park this Sunday as well.
On site. Any testing gonna be on site?
Yes, there'll be vaccination and testing on site. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that definitely makes this a unique event. But let's talk about how this is fostering a deeper relationship with the river and possibly more respect for the environment in creating that deeper relationship.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing, Kimon. I've lived here since I was 8 years old, right? And I often tell people I'm not native, but I'm almost native, and don't come from my street cred, right? Like I went all through DC public schools, and this is home, right? If this is my DC roots, and so I share that
But
concept.
you shouldn't even have to qualify, brother. Chuck Brown, Marion, neither one of them is native, so I don't know why.
They come for sometimes. and Chuck Brown is my birthday twin, so.
Oh, okay, dope.
So, but I share that because I grew up in a time when the Anacostia River was forgotten, like it was called the Forgotten River, right? And it was disinvested in.
They forgot. I forgot they called it that.
That's right. It was disinvested in, and there was no telling what things that you would find in the river, and people were really discouraged, not only from going in the river, but from going across the river. And so there's been a lot of investment in the river over the last 25 years by, different organizations really trying to bring back the beauty of the river. I remember a longtime mentor of mine, Dennis Chestnut, used to tell the story of how he couldn't learn to swim in the public pools. He had to learn to swim in the Anacostia River. And the reason he had to learn to swim in the Anacostia River was because at the time, the pools were segregated. And so all the Black kids, just talk about historical significance. There were a number of Black residents, they had to actually learn to swim in the river. Now, at that time, the river was actually healthy enough for them to swim in it. But, we're talking about, 50, 60 years ago. And so there has been a lot of energy about getting back to the place where the river is fishable and swimmable. But with that, I think comes, there's both a blessing and a burden. There's a blessing because we can take advantage of the river and appreciate it for its natural resource. I think the burden is now here comes the developers, and here comes a lot of people that will try to take advantage of this amazing amenity and amazing resources. And the people that have been here are getting pushed out and they don't get a chance to take advantage of it. And so one of the things that our equitable development plan has focused around is how do we make sure that, and you say it all the time, come on, how do we make sure that we can have development without displacement? How do we make sure that we're pouring resources into the indigenous residents who have lived here so that they can appreciate the value and the beauty of our Anacostia River?
Well, you talk about swimming in the Anacostia. The DC Water, the municipal, the private owned municipality in the nation's capital is predicting that this river will soon be swimmable. I think it's because of this construction of a DC River tunnel. Are you familiar with that project?
So yeah, a couple of years ago, some organizations actually sued DC Water, because what was happening was we had what's called combined sewer overflows. And so like all of the rain that we've gotten today, anytime we got that large amount of rain, the pipes couldn't hold all of the water. And so they would release all of the sewer and all of the other water into the river. And so it was polluting the river. So what was happening was they were sued, and because of that suit, it caused them to go back and look at how they were going to restructure their infrastructure. And so they built these underground tunnels so that it can hold that water, so that now you don't have this combined sewer overflow, where when you have these heavy rains, it's releasing all the sewer into the river. And so the goal, don't quote me exactly, but I believe they said once they have like 2 or 3 tunnels, but once the third one is complete, I think they were talking about like 99% of the sewage, would not be going into the river anymore, which we should see an immediate impact. And I believe they are already seeing an immediate impact from a couple of the tunnels that have already been constructed.
Mm. And just in time for this walkable bridge that's connecting both sides of the town in the nation's capital, and fostering this whole, deeper relationship with the river, which henceforth the Anacostia River Festival is fostering. It's almost as if it was all planned, but it just happened independently of each other and converged. And I think it was part and parcel of the type of response that we should have in addressing climate change. Because a lot of this stuff is man-made, the effects has been had, and therefore the problems can be addressed and solved through actions on the part of man. And I want to thank you and your team for being a part of that. But I also want to, that's like that macro level, but on a micro level, I've seen in my own eyes, with working with, the DC Summer Youth Employment Program, the Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program, where we have a community garden. Kids didn't want to go out there and water the garden at first, so to get their J's dirty or anything. But then by the end of the program, they're like, oh man, you see the watermelons? Oh man, yeah. You see, I see the change. And I remember having a debate with a young man, because I feel like littering is a form of mental illness. If a grown person just throws trash, drop it right where they are, I think that's indicative of a deeper issue with that person. And I remember challenging a young person I saw do that, and they're like, "What's the big deal? It's trash all everywhere." So they were saying because they see the trash everywhere, it doesn't make any difference, right? So hence why they would go to other areas of town, more prosperous areas of town, and they don't see the trash. Same people, they don't see that trash. They don't litter in those areas. They respect those areas. But the areas that they live in, they don't respect that. And I think it's a reflection of a lack of respect themselves. But once that area becomes cleaner, then they can change behavior. And I think what you're doing, the Anacostia River Festival, the 11th Street Bridge Park, these projects can actually begin to have an effect on people's behavior, because if we start respecting the environment, then we'll start respecting ourselves a little bit more, maybe possibly extend that respect to each other in our communities. I know that's a little lofty for some people, but I have seen that in my own experience of a person's behavior being affected by their environment.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So the River Festival is what we trying to get people to come out and celebrate their environment where they are. And we hope that we're not going to have any problems with bad behavior and littering in the park, because that you see this big green space. And correct me if I'm wrong, Anacostia Park is one of the largest green spaces in the city.
Yeah, it is. And a lot of people don't realize it, but Anacostia Park actually stretches from South Capitol Street all the way to, I believe it's Benning Road. So it's inclusive of like even River Terrace. All of that is a part of Anacostia Park. So yeah, it's absolutely one of the largest green space in Washington, D.C.
And in addition to the entertainment and the the official music of the nation's capital, go-go, being front and center to help bring some of the indigenous people out to the park. What other activities or interactive activities will the Anacostia River Festival be offering?
Yeah, I know that we're going to have a double Dutch team out there. So it'll be folks out there for double Dutch. I believe the Anacostia watershed will be back out there with their canoes and boat tours. I'm not sure if they're doing fishing this year, but in years past, we've always done fishing. I'm not the person that has organized the festival. That my colleague Destiny Johnson, and so I can't remember if we're actually doing fishing or not this year. But then we'll also have some food trucks out there to provide food for folks that they can purchase. But honestly, like it's I look at it as just a nice a big old party on the park, where folks can just come out and celebrate. One of the things that I didn't mention, like even with the 11th Street Bridge Park, we yes, it is a physical bridge, but we want to build that bridge between the communities, right? So how can we start to connect the communities east of the river and west of the river? I think for years, the river has served as a divider between our city, with haves and have-nots, with blacks and whites, with all of these different divisive ways. And we really want to look at how we can merge these communities together. And this was also what the River Festival provides, is an opportunity for communities to come together, for a lot of those myths, those stereotypes that exist from one community to another, that we can start to take those down and learn, oh man, this thing called go-go is great. Oh man, it's beautiful over here. Like, I should be able to explore. Even the folks that live in the community to just come and really be able to appreciate and understand what a treasure that they have in their own backyard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what we have in here is the spectacle of some people that's building walls, and you guys are building bridges, literally and figuratively, and bringing the connectiveness together. Because the river being a natural boundary, as you said, between the haves and the have-nots, means that now we have an opportunity for all of us to have. Yes. Because DC has one of the greatest disparities of economic wealth of any city in America. And so these things have to be addressed as well. Can you speak briefly about some of the actual programs that 11th Street Bridge Park has been part and parcel of to address some of these inequities and disparities in the nation's capital?
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned our equitable development plan earlier. The equitable development plan was created by a number of stakeholders, which included community residents, district leaders, nonprofit organizations, small businesses. And ultimately, what was created was about 40 strategies that are focused on 4 major areas: housing, workforce, small business, and cultural equity. And from those programs, we've seen some amazing results with the small business. Currently, we are working with the Anacostia Business Improvement District and some of the businesses in Anacostia. We have a program where we have been providing web support to businesses, especially the ones that were hit really hard by the pandemic, and they really had to kind of close their storefronts down for a while. We wanted to improve their web presence. So we have programs like that. We've also offered like technical assistance and microloans to a number of businesses, small businesses with housing. We have stood up the Douglas Community Land Trust, which you serve on the board of, come on, along with myself. And for those that aren't familiar, the Douglas Community Land Trust serves to make sure that the property that people can continue to remain in this community into perpetuity, right? And so what that means is, how can we make sure that housing stays affordable? And the land trust is a vehicle to do that. We have also we have a Ward 8 Homebuyers Club that we work with our MANA, who is a housing nonprofit, and they've been providing housing services and ushering people into new homes. And so we've had about 100 people have actually purchased homes, mainly in Ward 8. And we're talking about families who have come from generations of renters can now take that shift into wealth creation via home ownership. We've also workforce, right? We've been working closely. Um, One of our sister organizations, Skyline Workforce, has been training individuals and local residents in construction training and things like flag and first aid, with the goal that when there is a ribbon cutting and there's a general contractor selected for the 11th Street Bridge Park, we can point them to this database of local residents who have been getting this training, who we have connected with jobs elsewhere, so that they can apply for positions on the park. Again, it's all about having ownership from the local community. And what better way than to have some uncle, some father, some grandfather, some aunt say, take their child to the park and say, hey, I put that screw in right there. I put that bolt in right there. Like, this part was built, on the support of your family. And so I think it's just a wonderful way to show ownership. And so we also have the community leadership empowerment workshop. Again, both of us participated in that. What that is really around how do we amplify the voice and the power of people in the community. It's teaching them personal leadership, it's teaching them community organizing, it's teaching them understanding the city planning process. I used to say we're all about creating agents of change. What I say now is we're all about creating system disruptors. How do we start to disrupt the systems that have been oppressing our communities for generations?
Yeah, and we at Radio, we pride ourselves on being part of this disruption business model, and many of our listeners are outside the Washington D.C. area, but you still can become a member of Douglas Community Land Trust. You can go to douglasclt.org to support lasting affordability through community ownership. That's douglasclt.org to become a member and be part of that disruption business model. And for those that's outside the DMV. They can also watch the Anacostia River Festival virtually. What platform do they go to do that, Brother Vaughn?
So if they go to bridgepark.org/ARF, you can find out you can see things like the lineup and learn more about the festival, but you can also stream if you go to that website. Go to that link.
Well, again, spring doesn't start until the Anacostia River Festival. It looks like this is going to be the biggest one yet. So if this is that, if that's the case, then that means you guys had to put in a lot more work and raise a lot more money to pull this off. Is there any folks you particularly want to take a moment to thank for that?
Again, we just want to thank all of our sponsors. I don't want to start calling out names because I'll definitely get in trouble. But we certainly want to just all of the sponsors that have helped to support the Anacostia River Festival this year. And when I say all of them, not just the major funders, but also every penny counts. Every $10, every $20 that is donated to help to support the park, to support the festival, to support our equitable development strategies is making a lasting impact in our community.
And how can our listeners keep up to date with the development of the walkable DC Bridge Park, the next attraction in the nation's capital that people around the country, and if not around the world, will be able to visit soon?
Sure. Once again, if you go to www.bridgepark.org, you can sign up for our emailing list. We send an email at least once a week providing updates with not only the park, but our different programming that is coming out in the different things that individuals and workshops can sign up for.
All right. That's Vaughn Perry from 11th Street Bridge Park. We want to thank you for joining us here today, and I wish you great success in the next event and the official kickoff for spring that will be taking place this Sunday, April the 10th from 1 to 4 p.m. in Anacostia Park. And also, if you're in the Washington, D.C. area, Saturday from 1 to 3 would be our Artist Gatekeepers of Truth, honoring Paul Robeson's 124th birthday With Here I Stand, Uziki Nelson is one of the largest sculptures in the nation's capital. He's been honored because his piece dedicated to Paul Robeson is at Georgia and Kansas on the other side of the river. That would be taking place Saturday from 1 and 3 p.m. at Georgia and Kansas Avenue Northwest. Uziki Nelson is a guest of honor for Paul Robeson's his dedication statue. And so Saturday, check that out. And then Sunday, I'll see you all there at Anacostia River Festival, where we have their own cherry blossoms, and it would be the close out to the National Cherry Blossom activities here in the nation's capital. So thank you again for joining me, Vaughn, and all the work that you do. And this has been Kimon Freeman, We Act Radio, Disruption as a Business Model on the Radical Side of Monarchy Avenue. Do something.